I don't think my legacy is that important, but I do think that if you're doing something productive that could help other people, it's important to do what you can while you're here.
Hey there, I'm Krista Vance, entrepreneur and operations leader.
And I'm Matt Vance, tech founder and author of The Review Cycle. This is The Culture Prophet.
We explore how strong workplace culture drives retention, reputation, and real business performance.
We talk with HR leaders, executives, and founders building people-first companies that actually win.
Production of The Culture Prophet is sponsored by Mobrium, the original employer reputation platform.
Mobrium helps employers take control of how their company shows up in AI search and on review platforms like Glassdoor and Indeed, turning employee feedback into stronger reputation, better hiring, and healthier culture.
Learn more at mobrium.com.
All right, welcome everyone to today's episode on The Culture Prophet. Here's the question for today. How do you scale a healthy company culture without losing the human element? Today, SnapCab founder Glenn Bostock joins us to share the story behind his book, A Human Business, and reveals his 5 core principles for building a caring, high-performing workplace culture. So, Glenn, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. Thanks, Krista.
Of course, we're excited for the conversation. And before we begin, I want to share a little bit about Glenn. He is the founder of SnapCab, where he turned a small barn workshop into a thriving manufacturing company, renowned for innovation, teamwork, and an uplifting culture that puts people first. He believes that a business is only as strong as the community inside it. That belief led to the creation of A Human Business, a practical framework any organization can apply to become more caring, collaborative, and high-performing. So we want to hear about this book that you wrote, and if you want to show it for those
Oh, sure.
All
right.
And tell your journey to arriving at making this book. #1 on Amazon. Amazing.
Yeah. Yep. It's got these cute little stick figures on there. Yeah. So the book. So your question is, how did I arrive at the book? This is now I'm in my 44th year in business. So I started out as a proprietorship, and then, eventually we incorporated, but we've always been in manufacturing. And I went from a one-man woodworking shop in a barn to, we have over 140 employees now, and with 2 manufacturing locations in the US and Canada. And thank you. And I'm 66 this year. And if I was money focused, I'd be selling my business. But what I'm interested in is seeing the way that we're running this business, seeing it go on beyond me. I can't make that happen, but I realize that if I don't write it down, I think we've all heard of companies where they'll say, "Oh, that owner, that founder was so great. It's never been the same since they left," right? And I thought, well, you need to have like some sort of constitution or something written down if you want to have a chance of something continuing. So I wrote the book originally for my employees, and then people are like, "Hey, this is pretty good. I think this would have universal appeal." So then we aimed it for the market, for people that are looking to have a company that has strong employee engagement.
Okay, so when we talked before, I didn't realize that was kind of the genesis of the book. To me, that makes it even that much more intriguing, because you were writing something that was for a very specific purpose, to carry the business forward in the way that you want it to, with that people first focus. And then it became the public book after. I think that's even
right.
more intriguing, honestly.
To me, it sounds like it's your legacy. You wanted to pass this on as a way to institutionalize the culture that currently exists, and to maybe help other companies achieve that same community-centered business. That's so amazing.
I guess so. Yep. Yeah, I never think that I hear that word legacy. It's not. Yep. I guess it is. I don't think my legacy is that important, but I do think that if you're doing something productive that could help other people, it's important to do what you can while you're here.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Maybe big word, but I think that is what you're trying to do. You're trying to
Yeah.
pass on the experience that
Yeah.
your employees have had under your leadership
Yeah.
and trying to
Mhm.
continue to improve. That's
Yes.
just so.
And before we jump into some of the specifics of the book, because I think those principles that you identified and mapped out are really important for everyone to hear. But in the intro or the bio, it talks about you having or building an uplifting culture, which
Mhm.
building elevators, that's very uplifting.
Yeah.
I
At
would
least
love
for the riders, the elevator sure is.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You know, some elevated thoughts, and then you go down when you need some deep thinking going on. But
Yeah. Try not to
can
get the
you tell us
shaft.
the beginning of your business and like, how that started and how you got to where you are with the business itself?
Sure. Sure. And I would say this business model has universal application now, but I didn't go out to build a business model for anybody else's business except for my own. So basically my story is I'm a guy that struggled through school. I had a whole bunch of learning disabilities, and uh, I was known as the dumb kid for 12 years through elementary school and high school. And the way they did school, I don't know, maybe they still do it this way, was, they'd rank you like who's read the most books. They'd have you like, let's do our memorized poems that see who has the good memory, the times tables, all these like ranking things where you're constantly being ranked, and it's a competition.
Yeah.
And I think the theory is that if you're in a competitive environment in the school, it's going to incentivize the dumb kids to all of a sudden become the leading smart kids. But I've never actually seen that happen. I just see the dumb kids feeling dumber and dumber as time goes on. And I used to get hives in school. And when I was an adult, I was in a very stressful situation. I got hives. I'm realizing, oh my gosh, those hives were stress. I didn't know what caused it.
Wow.
But I hated school. But what I did get out of school was years and years of experience of failure and struggle. And that is a really helpful thing to have when you go out to start a business, because you're going to be experiencing a lot of struggle and have to contend with potentially failing. So I'm kind of I can accept. I'm willing to take pretty big risks because I'm pretty comfortable with failing. So that was the good part of school. After school, my buddy and I would work on our dad's wood shops, and we would do pretty sophisticated construction things and building things and designing things after school, but that didn't really matter. His nickname was Brainless. Mine was Reject, because I was always out being tutored. And now he's got his own we both have our own manufacturing companies. He's got a company called Pedestal Source in Colorado. And I'm SnapCab here in US and Canada. And when I went to college, I was able to pick what I was interested in, which by now is woodworking, because that's what our hobby was. And I excelled at it, and I got all A's. I got into business. I started a business doing cabinet work. And all of a sudden, I went from having the identity of the dumb guy to a craftsman. I can't tell you how great it was to have a new identity of craftsman. I met this wonderful gal from Canada. We got married. I've got this business that I'm very attached to, because well, first of all, it's fun going out, meeting with customers, designing stuff. Then I go back and build it. Then we'd go install it. And that went on for some time until we had kids. And then all of a sudden money started to become more important. And my dad had pointed out that he thinks there's a business in elevator remodeling. He was in the elevator business. So I took my portfolio of kitchen cabinets and bookcases and went around the elevator maintenance companies and said, hey, do you want me to remodel your elevators? Because it's all woodwork. And they're like, absolutely. And so I got quite busy doing that. And eventually I stopped doing the woodwork and only focused on elevators. And my I went from like working by myself or a couple of people to having about 5 or 6 employees remodeling elevators. Then we came up with a systematic way of remodeling elevators. We applied for a patent, got the patent, and then Otis Elevators saw our system, and they gave us a national agreement to remodel elevators, where we would make a kit, and it would ship out to all the elevator maintenance companies throughout North America. So it started
Wow.
slow, and they worked with us. They sent us to their quality school, and the guy at the quality school, Mr. Ito, said that the gold is in the problems. If you can identify a problem, mistake proof the problem, it's just like it's your single best way to improve your company.
Yeah.
And actually, before I met Mr. Ito, actually I didn't meet him, but he had established the school. Before I learned from Mr. Ito, I had a worker who had messed up a job that got shipped to Mexico, and we had to rebuild it. It hurt my reputation. It cost us money, and I thought, I'm going to yell at Bob because this will be really helpful, because then he'll know not to do this again. And if I yell at Bob in front of everybody, then everybody will know not to mess things up. So I was using kind of a similar tactic that had experienced in school myself that had turned me off so much.
Negative.
But that's right. And so I yell at Bob, and then Bob quits. He wasn't incentivized at all, and he quit. So I had to give him a raise. I got him back in the boat, and it's like, well, that's not effective, because all I was a woodworker. I wasn't trained in business. I didn't know how to manage people, and I was having trouble with my marriage as well. We were seeing marriage counselors, and around that time, I had seen this gentleman give a talk on being addicted to anger and resentment. And I don't know if I was addicted to anger and resentment, but I knew I felt those things regularly. So I went to his talk, and he had this 12-step approach to this. And I ended up going to see him, and it turned out he was a retired parole officer. So his job was to work with people that egos were so big, it got them into prison. And his job was to get them back out into society.
Quick highlight from today's sponsor, Mobrium.
One feature leaders love about Mobrium is the encrypted anonymous suggestion box.
It gives employees a secure way to share concerns privately, and leaders can reply back while maintaining anonymity.
This gives leaders actionable visibility to issues before they become public reviews or lead to voluntary turnover.
If you want more honest feedback without risking your star ratings, Mobrium makes that possible. Learn more at mobrium.com.
Now back to the episode.
He pointed out that people are led by what they love, and I knew for sure I knew what I was led by what I love. I love being known as a craftsman, and after spending time with him and realizing, anyway, it took quite a bit of time. I would come to him why I was right, and he would explain why I was like just thinking about myself. And I had a mindset shift to be focused and trying to figure out what lights up my wife and what lights up my employees. And here I had punished Bob for doing the work he loves doing. He actually was using my system that sent the job to Mexico. So I should have been blaming myself, not Bob. So after I had gotten this training from Peter, Bob screwed up another job that went to Hawaii. This time, I didn't yell at Bob. Instead, I'm like, oh, I'm just curious about how did that happen? And he said, well, I put the wrong material on. I didn't know it was the wrong material. I just put on what you guys gave me. So I sent Bob to Hawaii with his wife for a week, and they fixed the job in one day and then spent the rest of the week on vacation in Hawaii. You'll never guess what was more incentivizing to Bob, getting yelled at or
Why?
or Hawaii, right? So I started I decided, since people are led by what they love, and the other thing I realized is that in the prison system, they control people in prisons by using a fear of punishment. And I realized, oh, I was treating Bob like he was in prison. So I just decided I'm gonna drop punishment. I'm not gonna use punishment anymore. And to make a long story short, well, to finish that story, we've started a practice from working with Bob. We started a practice of doing incoming inspection on our materials. So we make sure it's the right material, right finish, defect free. And it's probably saved me hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that vacation to Hawaii has been paid for many times. And we ended up, so now what we do at SnapCab is we actually reward people for mistakes because it lowers the fear. And then when they bring up the mistake, then we include them in a process to like mistake proof it with the team. So they get a half an hour to an hour a day to improve our processes every day. And every day the management team goes around and looks at what's going wrong. And we have these values now of be kind, be authentic, and be useful. Being kind creates an environment where, you can say what's going wrong. And we actually do give people a ticket that whoever reports the most mistakes per month gets a reward. They get a spin at a prize wheel, so they might get an extra day of vacation or something. And then being authentic means you want to be authentic with what's going right, what's going wrong. And we're all focusing on being useful to the customer and to each other. So that's it. In a nutshell, we're trying to make a community of work here. We hire people instead of hiring people for experience and for their experience, we're hiring people for what they love to do. And we're trying to match what they love to do with the work we need done here. And one of the things we want people to have is an interest in seeing their coworkers be successful. We don't want a competitive atmosphere at work. We want a collaborative atmosphere.
Yeah, everyone wins individually and together. I think that's really
Right.
important. And rewarding the identification of mistakes, that's very powerful. And I love those values. Those definitely fit the culture and community that you're building. That's really neat. So Glenn, tell us a little bit more about the book itself and the 5 principles that you identified for creating this idealistic workplace community.
Sure. Okay, well, there's 5 principles, and they're largely captured in our values, those values of be kind, be authentic, be useful. The fifth principle in the book is to model your business after the human form. So if you think of your own, if we all got up this morning, right? And hopefully we're doing something productive with our lives. A lot of us get paid for a job. You could look at it like you yourself are your own little factory. You're consuming food, you're doing something useful, you're getting paid, and you get paid in multiple ways, but one's actually getting paid. And if you got a pebble in your shoe, would you not stop and get the pebble out of your shoe? But
I hope so.
Yeah, but that's not the way most businesses work. Most businesses, so we're using the way your body operates. You have this leadership team in your head with thoughts, but you're not having to think about digesting food and breathing. All your departments know what to do automatically. But they're all trying to achieve the goal of, the 2 of you got up to come do this podcast today, and you got me here, and we all used our minds to do that. And I think you could use your body as a picture of how a really well-run organization could run. So that pebble in your shoe, you stopped, your management team, your nervous system told your leadership team in your head to stop and get the pebble out of your shoe. And all of a sudden your foot became the leader temporarily. And that's a lot the way Toyota works. At the Toyota factory, any worker can stop the production line, then they'll swarm the problem, they'll do their best to mistake proof it, then they'll start the line again, and they produce nearly defect-free cars. But normally, the businesses that I know are like, well, we're trying to hit a goal here. I know we're walking, but we want to get to this place, by, we're looking at quarterly earnings. So we got to keep moving. I don't care if we have a pebble in the shoe, you keep moving. I don't care if you have rocks in your shoes. We're not stopping. And it's like some sort of form of a dictatorship with the information going from the top down, not from the bottom back up that easily. So that's the 5th chapter. But if you wanted a company to actually work that way, you'd have to prepare the people in the company to work collaboratively. And that's what the first 4 chapters are for. The first chapter is create a foundation of caring, which we already talked about. You don't want that classroom experience I had. You want that experience of being rewarded for mistakes so you can bring up what needs to be fixed. And then we hire people for what they love to do. So the second one is understand your ruling love. And we understand people are made up of many things that they love, but whatever that, if you can understand what it is that really lights you up, then chapter 3 is focus on being useful. If you can match what you love to do to what the company needs that's useful for the customer, then now you've really got something, because now you're finding life purpose at work. Like now it's like, the happiest place, honestly, is going to work, because now I get to do what I love to do. And then the 4th one is embrace problems and weakness. So that's where my company really took off for me, because I still have all those learning disabilities I had when I was a kid. I still got a terrible memory. I'm not very disciplined, terrible at reading. I'm dyslexic, hypoglycemic. People say, well, if you want to get Glenn's attention, make sure you get him after 9, after he's had his coffee, but don't wait till 11:30, because then he's like at a hypoglycemic low. And don't wait till 2, because then he's going to be sleepy like it's nap time. But these little windows. But I have an assistant that helps in my email calendar, and we all accept that we all have strengths and weaknesses, and we're trying to help each other. Before I tried to hire, like, I think 4 different leaders for my company, because I thought I'm really not qualified. And each were taking the company in a direction I didn't want the company to go. So I kept taking it over. Then I thought, well, I know I'm not qualified to do this. But then by inventing this human business model, all of a sudden I am qualified, because my strength, I get to really leverage my strength, and my weaknesses give somebody else a really good living. Other people make a good living on my weaknesses by helping me. And the payoff, the big payment that I get is the people I get to hang out with. Like, I have all these people that we want to see each other be successful, which is, there's what do they call it? An emotional salary, I guess, is really nice.
Yeah, I mean, the journey you've embraced with yourself, having gone from, being bullied, and that whole story definitely tugged at my heartstrings, but it's a moving story. And you, like you said, you experienced failure so much that kind of fear of it didn't exist, because it was just part of it all the time. But and then to have that recognizing mistakes, like you went through that kind of self journey where you recognized you had dealt with some hard things as a kid, and that was impacting how you were approaching leadership. And then using that, identifying mistakes in your business now to actually help your business be better, manufacturer level. And so I think that's just such a cool journey to have gone through. And I can tell you from my kids' school, I don't know if this is across the board, but man, that positive reinforcement is like, they have drilled into that, because my kids, they get candy and prizes like all the time, almost to where I'm like, okay, where's the failure in anything?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Well, that's true. I know. I on that. Right. I remember complaining to my mentor about my childhood, and he said, "Well, where would you be today without that childhood?" And I go, "Well, that's true. I guess I should thank those bullies because it, um, yeah." So I've so the philosophy, like if I was going to give somebody, I'd love to share with you like what I understand the meaning of all this is, because I want your listeners to go away with something, not just hearing about me. Um, I think everybody is driven by wanting to look good. They're worried about their reputation. Everybody's interested in material things and money things, and everybody truly loves being useful to people. And earlier in my career, I realized I wanted to have a really good reputation with my wife. I wanted her to admire me in a certain way. I wanted my employees to make me the money. After all, they're human resources. They're walking, talking inventory of people to help make money for me. They're not supposed to be having a good time. They're supposed to be making money for me. Everybody knows that. We're here to make money in business, and it's money for the owners. And then being useful kind of came in last. And everybody's working so hard to have a great reputation and get the material things they want. And then they're like, well, I got to do something useful so I can get those things. But if you flipping it to thinking, well, how can I be useful to my workers? How can I be useful to my wife? And how can I be useful to my customers? All of a sudden, reputation and money show up in support of those things. Like I don't have to. Obviously, you have to charge to be able to perform the useful things that you're doing. Like it's part of the recipe. And when people can sense when you're out to do something good for them versus try to get something from them.
Right.
And so I would just say if you just put usefulness first, you'll find everything goes better. And the other big lesson I got is I thought when I was learning things in school, I thought, well, if you learn enough, then you won't have problems anymore. And now I realize, oh, problems are here for your benefit. Like actually, like problems are like going to the gym. Like you cause a problem for your muscle, right? And you tear your muscle to grow more muscle. Well, that's you're going to the gym for that. But luckily at work, the gym comes to us and we get a stream of problems to solve every day that makes us better people. And we could either be miserable and not get the lesson out of the problem, or we could be annoyed at first, but realize the annoyance is kind of like in your body. An annoyance is kind of like a pain signal. It's a signal that something needs attention, and we could be happy about like, oh well, okay, now I see that there's a problem there. Now we can, that we're finding the gold. This is how we're going to grow. So,
and even those, like you're saying, those identifying things that are not right. It has use for the body, right? It's that signal of being able to address something. So I guess just kind of in closing here, do you have any final thoughts for HR leaders, people leaders, owners of businesses, of where to start with this? Like maybe this is a new concept for people and they've been running and walking with pebbles and rocks in their shoes for a long time. Like how do they?
Or maybe they've been using, that kind of coarse behavior towards employees to try to get motivation, right? And maybe they have to make a point of it here. So
yeah, where do you start?
I think that it starts with your own mindset, realizing, you know what, maybe I ought to look at how I've been looking at work, and what if I put energy into, if I could show myself being vulnerable, asking for help, making a misstep and realizing I made life a little miserable for somebody and apologizing for it and taking responsibility for it, all of a sudden you'd find people around you would start doing the same. And if you're in the middle, I think if you have any leadership, if you have any influence, you can have a lot of influence by rewarding somebody if they make a mistake. They're going to be so shocked. The way we started it at SnapCab was by giving people gift cards, just looking for somebody doing something wrong, and we gave them a gift card and involved them in the mistake proofing of it, and they're just shocked because they thought they'd be losing their job, and instead they're getting to be part of a solution. So if you can just make that mind shift, nobody gets up in the morning wanting to make problems, and giving people the respect to assume that they want to be part of a solution makes a huge difference. I'd buy the book, and there's more in there.
Yeah,
That's a great
definitely.
place to start. Just go read. Go read what you've already
Yep.
learned over experience.
Yeah,
And
it'll save you
look
about
for-
20 years of my life. I put in the
Yeah.
book, so I'll save you 20 years.
That's worth a read for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I look back to when Matt and I first got married. We went for the summer to do summer sales in California, and I took a stab at it and spent a day with one of the elite sales guys, and got lots of doors slammed in my face and lots of no's and lots of people hating me. I don't particularly love people knocking on, sales guys knocking on my door either. So I couldn't really blame him, but I ended that day just in tears because of how people hate me so much.
Right.
And we went to like a training to be better salespeople, and it was just it went back to, let's just be a doctor for people's bugs. Like, what bug
Right.
problems are you seeing and how can I help
Right.
you? And I loved that so much more. I was like, oh, like we're just trying to go help people. We're not just trying to get a sell or,
Right.
giving the spiel of our sales tactics or whatever, just so we can get that sell. It's like, is there a way that I can help you? And if not, like, I'll just move on,
Right.
So
That's right. That's right.
it's like so good for business. It's good for the bottom line, but it's also just good for yourself to not feel like you're or being somebody else, right? You're just being a real person that's trying to be useful to someone
That's
else.
right.
And I think
That's right.
the perfect way to close this out, and thank you so much, Glenn. It was
Sure.
such a pleasure to hear your full experience, and I'm excited to look more into your book as well. We'll include that link to your book on our highlight article as well as your LinkedIn. Please connect with him. And stay tuned for
All
the
right.
next episode.
Yep, everyone read the book. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Glenn.
All right. All right. Thank you.
Yep, we'll see everyone next time.
Thanks for listening to The Culture Prophet.
If this episode gave you a useful idea, share it with a leader building a better workplace.
Production of The Culture Prophet is sponsored by Mobrium, helping employers turn employee feedback into stronger culture and reputation.
Learn more at mobrim.com.
Until next time,
Go find one way to prioritize your people and watch your profits grow.